Okay, now that we've learnt about how to convert percentages to fractions and decimals, we're now going to work on how we can use percentages in real life and actually working out percentages of things. Because percentages are really useful for comparing. Useful to compare amounts. Because a percentage is always out of 100. So if you can convert something to a percent, you can compare it to something else that's a percent and make a fair comparison. So let's look at an example. If you, on your history test, get 13 out of 20 marks, but in your music test you got 18 out of 50, which test did you do better on? How can we compare your results because they were out of a different amount? So to compare, we can convert both of these fractions to a percentage and make a fair comparison. So remember, if we have a fraction, to convert to a percentage, we need to make the denominator out of 100. So if we have out of 20, we need to multiply by 5, and what we do to one, we do to the other. So here, 13 times 5 is 65. 65 out of 100, and that means that's 65% you got on your history test. For music, that's out of 50 marks. So to make 50 an equivalent fraction out of 100, we're going to need to multiply by 2, and we need to multiply the numerator by 2 as always. 2 18s are 36. 36 out of 100 is 36%. So now that we have two percentages, they're both out of 100, and now we can easily see you did much better on your history test. You got 65%. Better results. 36 on your music test, you probably need to study a bit more for that one. Okay, let's look at another example. Not that one. We will say if it's the September holidays at school, so after term 3, what percentage of the year have we finished? What percentage of the year have we finished? So we know that at the end of term 3, we finished 3 terms out of the whole year of 4. 3 terms out of 4. And we can make a fraction out of that. 3/4, 3 out of 4. And if we want to convert that to a percentage, we need to make our denominator out of 100 like always, and we're going to need to multiply by 25 in that case. So 4 25s gets our 100, 3 25s is 75. 75 hundredths is 75%. But there's another way you can work these out too. So if we have 3/4, we could have made a decimal first, because practicing our fraction to decimal conversions, we can do 3 divided by 4. And we can use short division to work that out. 3 divided by 4. 0. So we'll carry the 3 across. 4 sevens are 28, so 7 in the tenths. We have 2 remainder. 4 into 20 goes 5 times. 0.75. 0.75. And to go from a decimal to a percentage, remember we multiply by 100. So 0.75 times 100 equals 75%. So what we did overall here was we did 3 divided by 4, and then after that we multiplied by 100. So we really just did 2 steps. We divided the part by the whole. 3 terms was the part, 3 parts, by the whole, which was the whole year. So we did 3 divided by 4. And then we multiplied by 100. And that's when we did 0.75 times 100. So what we can do is put all of this together into one single step. And it saves a lot of time in the end. So this is our shortcut method. The quick method for finding the percentage of a total. So let's practice it with that one. We had 3 divided by 4, and we times that by 100. And whenever we're multiplying fractions, remember we need to have 2 fractions next to each other, but any whole number, 100 is just the same as 100 whole numbers. 100 over 1. And now we're going to introduce a new shortcut again, which is cancelling out diagonally. So we can call it diagonal simplifying. And diagonal simplifying works because when we multiply 2 fractions together, remember we multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So we have 3 times 100 over 4 times 1. And we can divide any of these numbers by a common factor to simplify them. But we do it earlier on, before we write out that step. So back here, we can think, instead of just looking for a common factor between 3 and 4, because we can't simplify 3/4 any further, we can look for a common factor between 4 and 100, or 3 and 1. So 3 and 1 doesn't have any common factors that we can make more simple. So 4 and 100, that has a common factor of 4. Well, they have a common factor of 4. So we can divide each one of those by 4, and that simplifies what we have. Now we have 3 over 1 times 25 over 1. And we can do this much easier now. So 3 times 25 is 75 over 1. That's just the same as 75 on its own. And looking back to our original answer, 75% is what we figured out using the other method. So, following this quick method, we divide the part by the whole and then multiply by 100 is how we can find the percentage.